She sits under a palm. In the hill country of Israel, during the time when judges rule, a woman speaks for God, and the land cries out for deliverance. You are about to witness how a prophetess, a reluctant commander, and a desert tent maker changed the fate of a nation. Deborah is a prophetess and judge in Israel. She listens to disputes beneath a palm and speaks God's word. In a culture where men usually lead, she exercises authority openly and calls leaders to righteous action. Barak is a commander from Naphtali, a capable soldier who trusts God yet sees danger. When Deborah summons him, he faces a choice between obedience and fear, and his decision will test Israel's courage. Jael is a tent dweller allied by marriage to Heber the Kenite. She is practical, skilled with tools, and not counted among warriors. Yet in the drama to come, she holds the decisive hand between victory and defeat. In that time, Israel suffers under Jabin king of Hazor and his general Sisera, who fields 900 iron chariots. The people are oppressed, forced into hiding, and the land falls silent with fear. The system of military brutality squeezes Israel's life until they cry out to God. As the valley images settle, Deborah sits and judges Israel. People bring their complaint about Sisera's hand. She hears their cry and recognizes the spiritual nature of the oppression. This is not merely military. It is a failure of covenant leadership, and she answers as God's mouthpiece. As she judges, Deborah summons Barak son of Abinoam. She speaks God's command. Gather 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zebulun and go to Mount Tabor. God will draw out Sisera to the Kishon River. Her words are both military order and prophetic assurance. But Barak hesitates. He tells Deborah he will go only if she accompanies him. His fear of Sisera's chariots and the experienced iron force drives this condition. Deborah agrees, but warns him that the honor will go to a woman because of his reluctance. The moral tension is immediate. In that moment the army gathers. 10,000 men come up to Mount Tabor from Naphtali and Zebulun. Barak organizes them by Deborah's command. There is a mixture of hope and fear as civilians and soldiers stand ready, holding to the prophetess' promise that God will act. As the assembly readies, Sisera hears and gathers his charioteers. He responds by moving his heavy iron chariots and all his troops toward the Kishon River. He means to crush the rebels swiftly. The scene sets a clear military mismatch, and the stakes grow darker. When everything is poised, Deborah proclaims God's role and sings a war cry. She tells Barak that God will rout Sisera. Her song is more than morale. It frames the coming fight as divine deliverance, reminding Israel of covenant promises and calling the people to trust God beyond military calculation. As the battle begins, the heavens intervene. Rain and floods turn the plain into soft mud, and the iron chariots become liabilities. The Canaanite mobility collapses. This reversal shows that Israel's hope rests not in technology, but in God's action that transforms terrain and fate. In that instant, Barak seizes the moment. He leads a descent into the plain and pursues Sisera's fleeing troops. With chariots hampered, the Israelite foot soldiers rout the enemy. The momentum of obedience and weather joins, and the battlefield becomes a pursuit rather than a standstill clash. As the chase deepens, Sisera abandons his chariot and flees on foot. He comes alone to the tent of Heber the Kenite, seeking refuge. His flight shows how military pride can collapse into desperate isolation when providence turns against it. That night Sisera knocks at Jael's tent. She leads him in, gives him milk and covers him, and he rests, believing he is safe. Her hospitality is culturally expected and disarms him. No one in the tent yet sees the deadly choice that will come from domestic space. While Sisera sleeps, Jael takes a tent peg and hammers it through his temple. The act is sudden and final. Her courage and ruthlessness accomplish what the battlefield could not. This brutal domestic strike challenges expectations about who acts in war and how deliverance is achieved. When morning comes, Barak pursues Sisera to Jael's tent and finds him dead. He sees the peg and understands what happened. The victory is thus completed by the hand of a woman, fulfilling Deborah's word. The scene forces Israel to reevaluate valor and the forms of God's deliverance. After Sisera's death, the Canaanite forces break completely. Israel hunts the remaining troops, and Jabin's commandership collapses. The oppression ends not by sustained siege wisdom, but by a swift campaign and a domestic intervention that together unmake enemy power. Days later, Deborah and Barak sing the victory song. The song recounts God's deeds, praises Jael and the tribes that went to war, and frames the victory as God's salvation. It teaches Israel to remember how deliverance came and who acted in the unfolding plan. When the dust settles, Judges 4 and 5 teach that God uses unexpected agents and domestic courage to fulfill covenant justice. Deborah's prophecy, Barak's obedience despite fear, and Jael's decisive hand all reveal that deliverance comes by God's will through human choices. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you do not miss the next one.